Hey everyone! The tragedy of Lenny Kravitz is beyond heartbreaking. Not because his life lacks success or beauty, but because behind the iconic sunglasses, the rock star charisma, and the ageless, almost mythic coolness lies a lifetime of loss, loneliness, identity struggle, and emotional battles that shaped him into the artist the world admires today. And as we peel back the layers of his story, we find a man who has lived through more grief, confusion, and inner turmoil than his fans ever imagined, starting with a childhood split between two worlds. His Jewish actress mother, Roxy Roker, and his black television producer father, Cy Kravitz, who gave him love, but also handed him a complex cultural duality that left him feeling like he belonged everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Lenny often said he felt like an outsider in school, too black for some circles, too white for others, too artistic for the rigid environments he was placed in. And while the world now celebrates his style and individuality, young Lenny paid for it with bullying, isolation, and a sense of being misunderstood long before he ever touched a stage. But the deeper tragedy unfolded inside his home, in the tension hidden beneath the glamorous Hollywood surface, especially when he discovered his father's long-term infidelity. A revelation that shattered not only his image of family, but his relationship with the man he once idolized. And the cruelty of it all hit even harder when Cy looked him in the eyes and said, "You'll do it too because it's in your blood." A moment Lenny has described as one of the most painful and confusing sentences any father could say to his son. That emotional wound haunted him for years, shaping his relationships, his trust issues, and even his approach to love. And just when he began finding his voice in music, sleeping on floors, struggling to get record labels to understand his mixed-genre sound, he was struck by another life-changing heartbreak, the loss of his mother, Roxy, the person who grounded him, inspired him, protected him, and believed fiercely in his talent. And her death tore a hole in his world so deep that he said it felt like he lost the sun itself. His grief became the silent engine behind some of his most emotional songs, but it also pushed him into a spiritual and emotional wilderness where fame couldn't numb the pain, money couldn't repair the loss, and no award could silence the ache that followed him into adulthood. His marriage to Lisa Bonet, one of the greatest love stories of the entertainment world, fell apart under the pressure of rising fame, schedule conflicts, personal growth, and Lenny's internal battles. And though they remained close, the breakup haunted him for decades, leaving him carrying the weight of what could have been, even as the world imagined he had endless romantic choices. But what makes Lenny's tragedy even more heartbreaking is the loneliness hiding beneath all the glamour. Despite his success, his global recognition, his superstar image, and his carefully crafted persona, he has spent much of his life longing for emotional stability, for peace, for connection that isn't built on fame or expectation. And he has admitted in rare interviews that being a free spirit sometimes meant walking alone through some of the darkest seasons of his life. And then came the final blow, the death of his father. A complicated man whose love Lenny desperately wanted, but rarely felt fully. And in the hours before Cy died, Lenny forgave him, held his hand, and told him he loved him anyway. A moment that both healed and reopened emotional wounds he had carried since childhood, proving once again that forgiveness doesn't erase pain. It simply gives it permission to exist without destroying you. Throughout all of this, Lenny Kravitz continued creating. Songs about love, loss, faith, identity, and survival. His art becoming the vessel for decades of emotional turmoil the world never saw. And behind the glamour, the fashion, the rock star aura, and the timeless physique is a man who has fought through grief, abandonment, heartbreak, and deep spiritual searching just to stay whole. His tragedy is not sensational. It is deeply human. The story of a man who lost the two most important people in his life, who battled with identity and belonging, who suffered betrayal in his own home, who walked through the ruins of love, who forgave the unforgivable, and who still manages to radiate warmth, humility, and wisdom, reminding the world that even icons carry wounds that never fully heal. And as we revisit the chapters of his life, it becomes clear that Lenny Kravitz is not just a rock star. He is a survivor whose tragedies carved the soul of his music, whose heartbreak shaped his spirit, and whose journey reveals that sometimes the people who shine the brightest have walked through the darkest places to get there. Thanks for watching.